Recap: Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Dao, Chapter 927, Chapter Hori. The tale unfolds beneath the solemn authority of Scarlet Heaven Academy, where even the winds seem to pause to witness the strange scene that followed Ling Han's astonishing victory. Just moments earlier, Luoba, once hailed as the Luo clan's brightest prodigy, had been shattered by a single devastating strike. His body now lay broken, and the fury of his clan's elder, Luo Kaifeng, had erupted like a volcanic storm. A cultivator of the Sun-Moon tier, Luo Kaifeng had been moments away from striking down Ling Han in vengeance. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. A sudden cry rang through the air. Meow! The sound was not fierce like a tiger's roar, nor majestic like a dragon's cry, yet the instant it echoed across the plaza, the atmosphere shifted. The large white cat that had been resting quietly nearby leapt into motion. In a blur of snow-white fur, it shot toward Luo Kaifeng with astonishing speed. Its movements were lightning fast, so swift that even seasoned experts of the Shattering Void tier would struggle to keep up. However, its opponent was no ordinary cultivator. Luo Kaifeng stood within the Sun-Moon tier, a realm so far beyond the Shattering Void tier that the gap between them was like the distance between heaven and earth. Under normal circumstances, the cat's attacks would have posed no real threat. Yet the situation was far from normal. Luo Kaifeng did not dare to strike back. Thus began an absurd spectacle that none present would ever forget. The dignified elder of the Luo clan, an elite of the Sun-Moon tier, was forced to leap, dodge, and twist his body as the white cat chased him across the plaza. Back and forth they moved. The cat darted with furious energy. Luo Kaifeng evaded desperately. Dust rose beneath their feet as the elder of the Luo clan was literally chased in circles by a creature whose cultivation was only at the Shattering Void tier. To any outsider, the sight would have seemed utterly unbelievable. Yet among those gathered within the academy, no one found it strange, because this was no ordinary beast. This white cat was the academy head's beloved pet, and everyone knew a simple truth: no one dared to harm it. After pursuing Luo Kaifeng for a time, perhaps satisfied that it had made its point, the white cat suddenly halted its assault. With a graceful leap, it returned to Ling Han's shoulder. Settling comfortably upon him, it lifted one paw and began grooming its whiskers with leisurely arrogance. Its claws flashed briefly as they slid out, glinting in the sunlight. Its expression seemed to say plainly, "Who among you dares bully my people? Try it again and see what happens." Watching this spectacle, Jiang Deman could no longer suppress his laughter. A booming chuckle burst from his chest. Who could have imagined that Ling Han, this young cultivator, would somehow become friends with the one creature within the entire academy that no one dared provoke? Even Luo clan elders would hesitate before offending this demon cat. Jiang Demon coughed lightly, struggling to regain composure before speaking. "I still maintain my earlier judgment," he declared firmly. Luoba never verbally admitted defeat. Since he did not surrender, Ling Han's strike cannot be considered a violation. His gaze swept across Luo Kaifeng and Wei Qianshu. "If neither of you has further objections," Jiang Deman continued calmly, "then Ling Han may return." What could Luo Kaifeng possibly say? The cat sitting on Ling Han's shoulder was the academy head's favourite companion. Its importance was even rumoured to surpass that of the head's own descendants. Even if the highest elders of the Luo clan had personally arrived today, they would still have been forced to show restraint. Luo Kaifeng's expression twisted with bitterness. He snorted coldly. Without another word, he stepped forward and gathered the shattered remains of Luoba's body. Carefully, he stored the pieces into his spatial spirit tool. Then his figure shot into the air. With a powerful leap, he departed from the plaza without looking back. Wei Qianshu released a long sigh. Just moments earlier, he had been placed in an extremely awkward position, caught between the Luo clan's wrath and the academy's rules. Shaking his head helplessly, he also leapt into the air and left the scene. Once the two elders were gone, Ling Han stepped forward. He clasped his hands respectfully toward Jiang Deman. "Senior," he said sincerely, "many thanks for speaking justly on my behalf." Jiang Deman laughed heartily. "Even if I hadn't intervened," he replied with a grin, "with that cat around, nobody in this academy would dare lay a finger on you." At those words, the big white cat lifted its chin proudly. Its posture radiated smug confidence. Indeed, it seemed to be thinking, yes, I am exactly that formidable. Still, Ling Han bowed again. Even so, I must thank you, senior. Jiang Deman nodded approvingly. This young man possessed talent in martial arts. That much was already clear. But what impressed Jiang Deman even more was Ling Han's character. He understood propriety. He observed etiquette. His temperament was steady. Talent alone was not enough to shape a true powerhouse. Without the right disposition, great strength could easily become a disaster for others. Ling Han, however, seemed to possess both. Go on, Jiang Deman said with a warm smile. A student's death will naturally require some follow-up matters, but that has nothing to do with you. Ling Han nodded. Once again, he clasped his hands respectfully. This student will take his leave. With that, he turned and departed, bringing the big white cat along with him. As they walked away, the cat scratched at his shoulder irritably. This was not the first time it had done so. Its meaning was clear. Don't you realize I'm hungry? Soon after Ling Han's departure, the gathered spectators also began dispersing. The battle had already ended. But the news spreading through the academy would soon become explosive. Ling Han's battle prowess had already surpassed 21 stars within the Shattering Void tier. Such power was almost beyond imagination. Among the crowd, Mo Junren gently patted Ye Chengyuan's shoulder. Big brother Ye. Ye Chengyuan appeared stunned. His eyes were unfocused. Cold sweat soaked his clothes. Slowly he turned his head and spoke in a low voice. I kept asking myself a question. If I had been standing where Luoba stood, how would I have countered that strike? He paused. Then he exhaled deeply. The conclusion was, death would have been inevitable. Mo Junren burst into laughter. Brother Ye, there's another option, he said cheerfully. You could simply choose not to spar with that lunatic. Ye Chengyuan blinked. Then suddenly his eyes brightened. That's right! He straightened, his earlier gloom beginning to fade. I have already cultivated to the absolute limit of the Shattering Void tier, he explained. With my current talent, unless I encounter some extraordinary fated opportunity, it would be impossible for me to push my battle prowess to 22 stars. But if I break through to the Mountain River tier, then I will once again have room to grow stronger. Mo Junren nodded. Exactly. That's why we only spend 100 years reaching 20 stars of battle prowess within the Shattering Void tier. That peak is important, he continued thoughtfully, but it's not the most important thing. One must first become immortal. Only then can one truly be considered powerful. Hearing this, Ye Chengyuan released a long breath. The weight pressing on his heart vanished. His confidence returned. Junren, he said with a grin, you're much smarter than you pretend to be. Mo Junren chuckled. Am I? I'm merely a romantic soul who enjoys admiring flowers. Meanwhile, far away from the academy, at another secluded location, a furious voice echoed through the halls. Despicable old witch, let New out. The cry sounded half like a beast's roar. Loud banging followed. Thump, thump, thump. A small figure clung stubbornly to the door. Hu New leaned her entire body against it, one small hand gripping the lintel above. She looked exactly like a mischievous little monkey. I want to see Ling Han! You ugly old woman! Let New out! Inside the room stood an elderly woman dressed in black robes. Her expression darkened. Nonsense! She extended her hand and grasped at empty air. Instantly, Hu New was pulled toward her, completely unable to resist. New is angry, Hu New shouted. New wants to become bad! New doesn't want to cultivate anymore! She puffed out her cheeks and planted her hands firmly on her hips. The old woman sighed deeply. You little girl, ever since returning to Rock Palace, when have you taken cultivation seriously? Yi Yun merely infused the soul essence of martial arts into your body. How much of that essence you refine and absorb depends entirely on your own effort. Hu New pouted stubbornly. New doesn't want to cultivate. New wants to see Ling Han. Her eyes blazed with defiance as she glared at the old woman. The black-robed elder felt an enormous headache forming. In the mythological beast palace, only the Imperial Empress possessed the right to cultivate the 3 supreme secret techniques. This was because only she could inherit the unique soul essence of martial arts. Without that foundation, even possessing the mystical arts would achieve nothing. Yet, fate had delivered them this successor, and she was utterly unreliable. Over the past year, the old woman had come to understand Hu New very well. Threats did not work. Intimidation was useless, because Hu Nu did not even understand the concept of fear. After a long moment of thought, the old woman finally spoke. "Very well," she said. "I'll make a promise. If you cultivate until you reach the Genesis tier, I will allow you to go see that man." Hu Nu's eyes widened. "But only for 3 days," the old woman added quickly. "After that you must return. Our rock palace has a great enemy. Only if you master the 3 supreme techniques will you be able to stand against them. Keeping you here is also for your own safety." Hu Nu began counting on her fingers seriously. Then she nodded. "Fine! Nu will cultivate for 3 years and reach the Genesis tier." She tilted her head and stared at the old woman. "Rotten old lady, hurry up and leave. Seeing you makes Nu angry. And when Nu is angry, Nu can't cultivate." The old woman could only shake her head helplessly. She was a dominant figure within her territory, a powerful overlord feared by countless cultivators. Yet in front of this small girl, she had no temper at all. Every powerful person had their weakness. "Go on," Hu Nu waved impatiently. "Don't disturb Nu's cultivation." The black-robed elder finally turned and left. At least Hu Nu was now willing to cultivate seriously. That alone allowed her to breathe a sigh of relief. This little ancestor truly caused endless headaches. Still, a genius had unexpectedly emerged within that small world. The old woman could not understand what was so special about that human man, yet the truth remained undeniable. His child possessed astonishing martial talent. If Rock Palace accepted male disciples, she would have eagerly taken him as a student. After a moment of thought, her eyes brightened. The Heavenly Saint Palace is currently recruiting disciples. They have always maintained friendly relations with Rock Palace. If we present them with such a prodigy as a successor, they will certainly be grateful. She smiled faintly. 1 stone, 2 birds. Her decision was made. Meanwhile, within the Luo clan residence, the atmosphere was suffocating. Luo Hongdao stood silently before Luo Ba's corpse. His hands were clenched tightly. Rage burned fiercely in his eyes. The Luo clan's most outstanding young successor had been killed. Just like that. Although nurturing a shattering void tier cultivator was not excessively costly, the blood tier stone used on Luo Ba was incredibly precious. Even thinking about it caused Luo Hongdao pain. "We absolutely cannot allow that lowlife to escape punishment." His voice rang out with murderous fury, yet Luo Kaifeng hesitated. "Lord Patriarch," he said cautiously, "that man seems to have some kind of relationship with Fu Hui." The moment Fu Hui's name was spoken, a chill ran down Luo Kaifeng's spine, as though merely mentioning the name of a heavenly body tier expert carried an invisible weight of terror. The wind carried whispers of conspiracy within the halls of the Luo clan. With a cold snort, Luo Hongdao's eyes gleamed with ruthless calculation. "Humph! That brat is nothing more than a man overly attached to a cat," he said with deep contempt, his tone dripping with disdain. Beside him, Luo Kaifeng quickly nodded in agreement, though frustration flickered across his face. "Indeed," he said, "but even so, taking action inside Scarlet Heaven Academy is not so simple." At those words, Luo Hongdao's brows knitted briefly together. The crease lingered only for a moment before smoothing out again, as though a new thought had already surfaced in his mind. His voice turned icy. "There is no need for concern." Luo Kaifeng blinked in confusion and leaned slightly forward. "Lord Patriarch, what do you mean?" Luo Hongdao's eyes narrowed and a chilling command slipped from his lips. "Go to the Dark Knight Hall, issue an announcement, offer 10,000 true origin stones for that scum's head." The words hung in the air like the toll of a funeral bell. Dark Knight Hall. Within the cultivation world, that name carried a sinister reputation. It was an organization of assassins, infamous across countless territories. If the price was right, there was no target they would refuse. Their influence stretched across the 3 majestic empires and spread throughout dozens of royal empires like an invisible web of blades in the shadows. Yet, for all their reach, their true headquarters remained a mystery. No one knew where it lay hidden. No one knew who their leader truly was. No one even knew the depth of power behind that shadowy throne. Even the 3 majestic empires themselves had attempted to eradicate the Dark Knight Hall, and yet every effort had ended in failure. 10,000 true origin stones for the life of a mere shattering void tier cultivator. It was an outrageous sum, But Luo Hongdao did not hesitate. To him, Ling Han was already a dead man walking. Luo Kaifeng's lips curled slowly into a sinister sneer. Yes, with such a reward placed upon his head, Ling Han's fate was sealed. Could an organization as terrifying as Dark Knight Hall possibly fail to assassinate a mere shattering void-tier youth? Even if the assassins did not dare infiltrate Scarlet Heaven Academy itself, Ling Han could not possibly remain within those protective walls forever. One day, he would step outside. And when that day arrived, the blades of Dark Knight Hall would descend like the judgment of night. As for when that moment would come, the Luo clan no longer needed to care. From the instant the bounty was issued, Ling Han's life belonged to the assassins. Luo Kaifeng bowed his head slightly. Yes. And with that single word, a death sentence was quietly set into motion. Meanwhile, unaware of the storm brewing in the shadows, Ling Han had already returned to his courtyard alongside the large white cat. The courtyard was quiet and peaceful, the atmosphere far removed from the murderous plots unfolding elsewhere in the imperial capital. Ling Han casually roasted a piece of meat over a flame, the scent soon filling the small courtyard. The big fat cat sat beside him, lazily waiting for its share of the meal. Once both man and cat had eaten their fill, Ling Han wiped his hands and returned to his cultivation. This time, his focus rested entirely upon the 7-kill subduing soul technique. Days passed in silence. 5 days slipped by like drifting clouds. Throughout that time, Ling Han secluded himself within the courtyard, concentrating his spirit with unwavering discipline as he studied the mysterious technique. Finally, the effort bore fruit. He had achieved the first stage of success. Though still far from mastery, he could now wield the technique in its preliminary form. Standing in the middle of the courtyard, Ling Han's eyes settled upon a solitary stone lying on the ground, several paces away. His gaze sharpened. For a moment, the courtyard fell utterly still. Then a flash of brilliance erupted from between his brows. A sword-like ray of light shot outward with blinding speed. Bang! The beam struck the stone instantly. The impact exploded with terrifying force, shattering the rock into countless fragments that scattered across the courtyard. Ling Han slowly exhaled as he examined the shattered debris. "This secret technique," he murmured thoughtfully. "Its effects are far more complex than a simple attack upon the spirit," he continued analysing calmly. "Not only can it assault the opponent's soul, it also possesses frightening destructive power against physical matter." The technique's nature was truly extraordinary. Its attack could manifest in 2 realms simultaneously. In the physical world, it could injure flesh and body. In the spiritual realm, it could strike directly at the enemy's soul. A dual assault. The possibilities were endless. Ling Han's lips curved upward in quiet satisfaction. Even more importantly, he possessed the indestructible Heaven's Scroll. That legendary cultivation technique had forged his spirit into something incomparably resilient and powerful. With such a formidable foundation, the 7-kill subduing soul technique could unleash its full destructive potential. Ling Han even suspected that when Old Man Shu passed on this technique to him, the old man had never imagined how perfectly it would complement the indestructible Heaven's Scroll. The synergy between the two was simply too terrifying. Just as Ling Han was contemplating this new power, knock, knock, knock. The sudden sound of knocking echoed at the courtyard gate. Ling Han walked over and opened the door. Standing outside was Shui Yanyu. Her figure appeared as graceful and alluring as ever. Beneath the flowing folds of her long dress, her mature and captivating curves radiated a natural charm that could easily test the self-control of any man. And with Ling Han's vivid imagination, it did not take much for him to picture the exquisite softness hidden beneath that seemingly loose garment. Feeling the heat of Ling Han's gaze resting upon her, Shui Yanyu's beautiful face flushed faintly pink. Then she spoke. "My father wishes to see you." Ling Han blinked in surprise. "Father-in-law wants to see me?" he muttered. But after a brief moment of thought, the situation did not seem so strange. After all, he and Shui Yanyu had publicly declared themselves to be engaged. Even if it had originally been only a convenient lie, rumours of such a relationship could not simply be ignored forever. It would have been strange if the Shui clan had remained silent indefinitely. In fact, considering how long it had taken for them to summon him, The response was already somewhat delayed. Most likely, the Shui clan had initially dismissed the rumor as nonsense, but after questioning Shui Yanyu herself, they had realized the matter was not so simple. Shui Yanyu's expression turned cold as she stared at him. "Do not misunderstand," she said firmly. "Do not think you can take advantage of me." Ling Han chuckled lightly. "Even if we are only pretending to be lovers," he replied, "shouldn't we at least make it look convincing?" "There's no one else here," Shui Yanyu replied frostily. "There's no need to act." Ling Han sighed exaggeratedly. "A few days ago, I fought a life-and-death duel," he said, "and yet you didn't even bother coming to watch." He raised an eyebrow. "Aren't you worried people might think you didn't care enough? If the act falls apart too early, wouldn't that be troublesome?" Shui Yanyu snorted softly. "With your strength," she said, "even if there were 100 luo bars, none of them could harm a single hair on your head." It was not as though she had never sparred with Ling Han before. Even she, despite her formidable cultivation, had found it extremely difficult to kill him. Instead, she had been bitten on her. Hey? Her thoughts abruptly stopped there. Ling Han burst into laughter. All right, he said. "Let's go meet him." Then his eyes brightened mischievously. "Who knows? Maybe the old father-in-law will even give me a red packet." He quickly added with mock seriousness, "But remember, even if this marriage is fake, if I receive a red packet, it belongs to me. You're not allowed to ask for it back." Shui Yanyu shook her head helplessly. "Before we go," she warned, "you should prepare yourself." She continued calmly. "My clan has always been enthusiastic about forming marriage ties with the Zhao clan. Because of that, during this meeting, you may face considerable pressure." Fortunately, she added, Ling Han was affiliated with the left minister. Because of that connection, even though Ling Han's cultivation realm was not particularly high, the Shui clan would not dare treat him too harshly. "After all," she concluded casually, "before beating a dog, one must look at its master." Ling Han's mouth twitched. "What kind of expression is that?" he protested. "Couldn't you say something nicer?" Then he smirked. "Besides, there's another saying. If you marry a chicken, you follow the chicken." He tilted his head toward her. "If I'm the dog, then you're not exactly much better." Whoosh! In an instant, a sword flashed from its sheath. The cold blade rested against Ling Han's throat. Shui Yanyu's voice turned icy. "Say one more word of nonsense, and I'll kill you." Ling Han did not move at all. Instead, he calmly replied, "Are you planning to murder your husband?" Shui Yanyu stared at him silently. After a moment, she withdrew the sword and sheathed it again. Technically, she had once declared that after Ling Han died, she would remain his widow for the rest of her life. In that strange sense, Ling Han really could be considered her husband. Why had she never realized before that this fellow possessed such an infuriatingly shameless personality? "Come with me," she said curtly. She had no interest in enduring more of his nonsense. If she continued talking with him, she might truly lose her temper. The two of them left the courtyard together. Originally, Shui Yanyu intended to walk slightly ahead, but Ling Han stubbornly kept pace at her side, very close at that. Just as her patience was reaching its limit and she was about to lash out, Ling Han leaned close to her ear and whispered softly, "Senior sister, don't forget," he breathed the words gently. "The moment we step outside that door, many eyes will be watching." His warm breath brushed against her neck. Instantly, a delicate blush spread across Shui Yanyu's cheeks. The sight was mesmerizing. Never before had a man stood this close to her. Her skin prickled with goosebumps. She suddenly remembered the earlier incident when Ling Han had unexpectedly grabbed her chest. At that moment, her mind had completely shut down. Even now, the memory caused her thoughts to falter. Lost in a daze, she didn't even notice when Ling Han took her hand, nor did she realize he was leading her forward. She only felt as though she were walking on soft cotton, light, floating, almost like drifting across clouds atop a mountain peak. "Which direction should we go?" Ling Han asked. They had already stepped outside the courtyard gate. Only then did Shui Yanyu finally snap back to reality. She immediately flung Ling Han's hand away. Her eyes flashed angrily. "Even if we're pretending," she snapped, "there's no need to hold hands! You did that on purpose!" Ling Han shrugged. "Just now," he said calmly, pointing behind them, "I spotted Zhao Lun's subordinates." Shu Yanyu blinked in surprise. She truly had not noticed. She had been completely distracted. "Let's go," Ling Han said. Without hesitation, he once again grasped her hand. This time, Shu Yanyu did not pull away. Still, a faint blush crept back across her beautiful face. Her charm was so breathtaking that even ascetic cultivators might feel their hearts stir. Ling Han glanced behind them once more. A faint smile appeared on his lips. If he was going to play this role, then he would play it perfectly. "Jiaolun," he thought silently. "You want to watch? In that case, I'll give you a very clear show." As they continued walking, Shu Yanyu gradually regained her composure. Nearly an hour later, they arrived before a large manor. The gates stood tall and imposing, radiating the authority of a powerful lineage. The Shui clan, a fifth-tier clan, and today, Ling Han was about to step directly into its halls.